All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Renewable Heat Now Tabling and Outreach Teach-In. I'm Lisa Marshall with New Yorkers for Clean Power. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm very privileged to have with me today two excellent organizers and trainers, Isaac Silberman-Gorn and Elisha Bacon, and I'll let them introduce themselves. I'm going to share my screen and get going with the slides, and today's going to be a fun and interactive session for us to hone our tabling skills. All right, sharing screen. Oh, of course, my slides aren't up anymore. Hold on a second. Share. Let's try that again. View, slideshow, and I had it ready. Share screen. All right, can everybody see and hear okay? Yes? Terrific. So as I said, this is our tabling teach-in for the Renewable Heat Now campaign with me, Lisa Marshall, Elisha Bacon from Mothers Out Front, and Isaac Silberman-Gorn from Frack Action. Thank you guys so much for agreeing to share your skills and experience at this teach-in. So let's kick it off. The agenda today is welcome and introductions, understanding tabling for advocacy. That's like, why do we table? Developing your elevator pitch, best practices for giving persuasive pitches, practicing giving our pitches. We're going to have 2 breakout sessions today, and then some logistics and resources that I'll share at the end. So for our introductions, I'm going to turn it over to Isaac, and he's going to ask us to go around, tell your name, pronouns, organization, region, and very briefly describe a memorable tabling experience you've had, positive or negative.
Yeah, so, here in the room, there's a whole lot of experience. I know that for a fact. Yeah, and I think Lisa teed it up pretty well. So, and I can start. My name is Isaac. I use he, him pronouns. I am an organizer with Frack Action based here in Troy. And I wanted to give some thought to have a really clever, memorable tabling experience, but the most enjoyable ones have been where I've found someone like-minded and it winds up being a constructive conversation and I can plug them into the work. And that's happened occasionally. So yeah, I will call people to kind of keep things moving and we can go from there. And so from my left, I see Lisa, you want to go? So you gave your intro. So what's a memorable tabling experience for you?
Yeah, so I'll just talk about Bonnie Raitt because I was there on Tuesday, and we were there at the invitation of the artist as part of a Rock for Renewables campaign. And I had a great tabling spot right next to the will call tickets. And on the other side of me was this, the swag, people buying t-shirts and albums. And there were hundreds of people coming to the event, probably mostly very liberal minded. So it seems like a great tabling opportunity. However, people were really there because they wanted to see Bonnie Raitt. They weren't there to get their civic engagement game on.
Yep.
And I had a beautiful table and compelling materials and stickers and buttons to give away, all goodness. And I think I got, out of probably 500 people, 5 postcards signed,
Yep.
including one of a person I already knew.
And that's a helpful lessons there. Diana,
tabling experience.
There you go. So Diana and I have tabled together as we I think our agenda slide has the picture of the 2 of us. So go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Diana Strablow. I use she, her pronouns. I'm with Sierra Club, but yeah, I've tabled at music events and realized the same thing that you did, Lisa. But yeah, right now I'm new up here in Saranac Lake in the Adirondacks, but we did some tabling. I actually met a new person up here, Andy Foster, and he reached out and we did some tabling together at the farmers market here in Saranac Lake last summer. And the first day we did it, we had information about heat pumps and renewable heat now. Then it was mostly all electric building act that we were promoting. And I kind of said to Andy the first day, we're going to be just sitting here by ourselves all day, I bet. Nobody around here, because it was new community to me, very rural. I didn't really, I felt maybe we're not in the right place, but I was amazed at people who stopped. People up here are really interested in heat pumps. And so we were able to disseminate a lot of information. And we tabled about 4 different Saturdays. And I'm looking forward to doing it again at the same farmers market this year.
Awesome. So going in the opposite of Lisa's experience, going in with low expectations and being over and having a great experience. Alicia?
Shanna Bacon, she, they pronouns, organizer with Mothers Out Front. I always really dread tabling, so I go with low expectations and it's usually better than I expected. So I'll say the best tabling was when I met Ebony, who's now our member leader for the Capital Region, and just an overall really great person. And she stopped by our table, and I had these crowns that her daughters decorated and wore, and they're little climate queens. And then I'd say the worst tabling, fortunately, it hasn't been super bad, but Isaac brought this up the other day. It was at a Troy event, and it was just so unbearably hot that I was just melting and dying. And it was good for talking about climate and why we need to care, but it was just really miserable in terms of the weather.
Yeah, and I would add lessons there as well. Thanks, Elisha. That's great. Anshul?
Hi, Anshul Gupta, he, him pronouns from Westchester County with New Yorkers for Clean Power and the Climate Reality Project. I haven't tabled much at all. The only time I experienced tabling a little bit was at a Mothers Out Front event, and Sarah Smiley, who's there, was actually leading that table. But we did manage to pull a fun prank there. There was another table from the Building Research Institute, and those people were against the All Electric Building Act. But we tricked them into taking a selfie with us, with the guy who heads the organization holding a poster for the All Electric Buildings.
Great. Amber, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, Amber Deshi with Alliance for Green Economy, and I feel like the best tabling experiences I have are ones where it's at a craft show or cultural fair where there are a lot of different tables where people really intend to stop and talk to you and have a conversation, and they're not rushing through to get to another event. Like the Westcott Street Fair, I think, was a pretty good tabling experience for us, or any electric vehicle or Earth Day themed events where people are already environmentally conscious there. And I think one other cool tabling we did for a different campaign was outside of a utility office, where, obviously people who are going there are usually going to deal with an issue with high utility bills or billing issues. And we had just a big sign that said the name of the utility, and it was our bills are too high, come talk to us about it. And we got a lot of people stopping that way. We just had some coffee out on the table on the street corner. So since the New York Heat Act caps utility bills, that might be something to consider too.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love the interactivity too. That's awesome. Carol?
Carol Resnick, she, her in Syracuse. I volunteer with Agree, but my actually very vast tabling experience has come in different organizations on different issues. And I'll just share that this is not what I like to do, but the most effective strategy that I have learned from other people is not to necessarily sit behind the table, to stand next to it, in front of it, engage people in some active way with something interesting in your hand. So, I mean, that is very much more, it requires much more initiative. It's more like door knocking, but it's very effective in terms of actually getting people to stop and talk.
Yes, what a great lesson learned. And yeah, that's fantastic. Delia, did I destroy your name? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I go with Delia.
Delia,
Kulakundis
sorry.
and she, her pronouns. Oh, that's right. And I am from 350 Brooklyn. I've never tabled before, but I know that 350 BK is going to do some tabling this summer to spread awareness around how to handle and be safe around extreme heat. And so it seems like a good opportunity to weave something else into.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll definitely pair you up with people who have a little more experience so we can, share skills. That's what it's about. So Amy, I think you joined a little bit late. We're asking for name, pronouns,
I fix that.
organization, region, and a brief, memorable tabling experience, if you have one.
I'm not sure if I do, but my name's Amy Fass. I don't care that much about pronouns, whether you think anything but it. And I'm involved in several environmental organizations, including San Energy Project, and not that much tabling experience. I've done it maybe once or twice. I'm not even sure which issue or group it was with.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome. We will have things to learn.
Definitely. I look forward to learning.
Awesome. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Smiley, she, her pronouns. I'm a volunteer with Mothers Out Front in Westchester County. And we've done a lot of tabling at our local farmers market, which has been pretty successful. And I agree with what Carol said about standing next to or in front of the table is much more effective than sitting. And we'll often also have some sort of coloring activity for kids. So that kind of brings families over and then you could talk to the parents. And we've also done holding up signs. So people just do a photo op at the table as well as signing something. So it kind of gives them a feeling of taking action right then and there, and it's something to post online for visibility. So that's been good. And I'd say every once in a while, there'll be someone who just wants to pick an argument who comes over to the table. So that's been memorable, but it's not usually someone who's in opposition. It'll be we should be working on this and this and this environmental thing and that kind of topic, but makes for a good conversation, I guess.
Sure. All right. Yeah, no, and so at the end of this, I'll reflect back kind of what I've heard, because there are a lot of lessons here and we did intentionally allow a chunk of time to kind of really get to know each other, honor the experience in the room. So Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I live in Saratoga County. I'm involved with League of Women Voters in Schenectady and Beyond Plastics. And then we have a local green committee. So I've only done one environmental tabling at Sustainable Saratoga. And everyone was there with the same mission. And people who came were interested in it. So that went smoothly. I've done voting ones in Schenectady, and that one, people come by, they're interested, but you're right, standing out front works the best. So thank you.
Yeah, great. We had a chat, Nancy. I've been looking to try to have Saratoga conversations. We will have your info. We'll talk. Okay. Rachel, another local Albany person. Troy.
Hello, I'm Rachel. I'm from Troy. My pronouns are she, her. I actually have zero tabling experience, but I'm here to learn.
Awesome, thank you. And last but absolutely not least, Andra.
Hi, my name is Andra Lehmanis. I'm with Alliance for a Green Economy. My pronouns are she and her. I'm based out of Syracuse, but Agree works statewide. And I love everyone's tabling stories, and I have felt those feelings, the whole range. Something that I really enjoy is tabling when I am not the only one at the table. And I think that sometimes when you're the only one, people might not stop by as much because they kind of feel like they're intruding on your privacy. I don't know, but if you have a second person, you can be sort of like talking about something and involve that person walking by in your conversation. You can have one person at the table and one person with like a clipboard sort of circulating in the aisle kind of feeling. So that seems more active and approachable to me. Another thing that was really memorable one time when we were tabling with Agree Materials, and of course Renewable Heat now is always part of our table setup. I also had cards for, this was when we were supporting the Indigenous nations that traveled to Standing Rock, and had cards that people could sign that were going to be delivered there the next week. And that was like an additional sort of, yeah, we're part of this bigger community. We see beyond just the issues that we care about. And I just like that vibe. So it's good when that can authentically happen and just increase the love in the space.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Amy, I see you. Go ahead.
Okay, appreciate it. I also wanted to say that I've been an environmental activist since the first Earth Day when I was in high school. Oh, sheesh, I had the other thing too. Just that I've been to a lot of, I haven't done much tabling, but I have been to a lot of demonstrations and marches and other kinds of events.
All right, very good. Lisa says she's not convinced that would be worthwhile. What do you mean, Lisa? You're muted.
Sorry, I was responding to something Amber was asking me in the chat. I
Oh,
apologize.
no worries. No worries.
Not responding to you, Amy.
In
fact, I hadn't been reading the chat much.
So while it's fresh in my head, a couple lessons that we've heard. So one, having some kind of way to interact with people and make it, having some kind of activity is a really helpful thing. Just reflecting back experiences that we've heard. Being out front of the table, tabling with another person. See, this is like the wisdom in the room that comes forth before, Elisha, who has a ton of experience, and I have some too, before we even open our mouths. We've got some really wonderful lessons already to be learned. Also, tabling with another human being is good. And so now I hand things off to Lisa for a really quick recap of the campaign, kind of where things are at, what our messaging is going to be really briefly over the summer. And then we'll go from there. And then we have then we dive into some of the breakouts, developing your pitch and going from there. So Lisa, you want to give us where are we? What's the deal?
We have just finished intros, and I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you all for sharing your experiences. And again, as Isaac said, it's, facilitating a training doesn't mean that the trainers have all the knowledge and then they impart it to you. It means we're bringing people together to learn from each other, and we're just facilitating that experience. So I'm glad that Isaac pointed that out, how much, experience and insight and wisdom all of you have. Okay, so sharing my screen again. This was in slideshow view. Why isn't it now? I don't know.
Don't retch.
Okay. Did I spell it wrong?
Left out the E.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to.
Oh no, it's okay. All right. So so just a little bit about the Renewable Heat Now campaign. Of course, you can use this training for whatever campaign or organization you're working for, but this is hosted by our campaign. The Renewable Heat Now campaign is organized by over 20 organizations, including my organization, New Yorkers for Clean Power, as well as Isaac's FRAC Action, Elisha's Mothers Out Front, and many the organizations many of you identify with, including the Sierra Club, Agree, Alliance for a Green Economy, the Climate Reality Project, etc. Yeah. The campaign is a campaign. It's not an organization. It doesn't have it's not a nonprofit. It doesn't have a funding source or any paid staffers. It's an organization that it's a campaign that these organizations work on together. And the purpose of our campaign is to accelerate the adoption of heat pumps in New York State and policies that support the adoption of heat pumps, especially equitable and affordable adoption of heat pumps, and to educate the public about heat pumps. So that's part of where tabling comes in. As you probably all know, buildings are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in New York State, and that's why we think this is a really important campaign and why this campaign was founded. And heat pumps dramatically cut the emissions from buildings as you switch from heating with a heat pump, with a fossil fuel heating system, to a heat pump, you're cutting emissions. And then as we green our electrical grid, we cut emissions even more. And this is a picture of Elisha at the Capitol in Albany delivering our bill memo on Valentine's Day. We made little Valentines to deliver to our elected officials. Sorry about the barking. Is it unbearable?
I
Oops.
hadn't even noticed.
Good. So just a little bit before we go into practicing our tabling skills, why is tabling important? Well, we always think about raising awareness about our issue and educating people about our issue. And that is important, having a public facing face for our campaign or our organization. Of course, we want to increase grassroots support for our issue by through this education and outreach, so that people might go from neutral to being very pro what we're doing. Just a quick note, we aren't, almost never in our campaigning are we trying to convince the opposition to support us. We're really trying to take people who might be generally supportive or might be neutral and move them into the pro or active category. A little campaigning sort of wisdom for you there. But one thing we don't often think about necessarily is the importance of adding to our mailing list. So whenever you table, it's very crucial that you have some way for people to take action, a petition or a postcard to sign. And to keep in mind for the purposes of growing an organization, growing a campaign, growing a movement, that adding people that you can contact in the future is super important. And the purposes of a postcard campaign or of a petition campaign are twofold. One is to actually deliver that message to whoever the target is, but the other is to get names, emails, phone numbers for our mailing list, people that we can reach out to, and so that more and more people will know what we're up to and have the opportunity at any point in the future to get involved. So I would never ever want to see a table where we only had informational materials, but no way to collect people's information. And then the best part of tabling is to meet like-minded people, hear their stories, share just a human moment. And that is the part that, you know, for those of us who, like Elisha said, she sometimes dreads tabling. And then it's almost always better than you expect. And that's because of those human moments that you have, where you meet somebody that you didn't know before, you hear their story, you find out something about them that touches you, and vice versa. And so, that our movement doesn't grow if we're only transactional and we're trying to get something from people. It's really about building authentic human moments and human relationships as we do our work. So that is, in a nutshell, some of the reasons that we do tabling. And with that, I'm going to again stop sharing and turn it over to Elisha, who is going to be working with us to develop our quote unquote elevator pitch.
Yeah. So right now we're gonna do some breakout rooms and work on like a 60-second elevator pitch. So before we go into that, just want to kind of set the stage. So we want to make sure that with our advocacy that we have a compelling pitch. It should be a concise, compelling message that captures the mission, impact, and value of our organization, and is going to draw people in, inspire them to take action and be a voice for change. And so my elevator pitch talks about how I'm concerned about the health inequities that come along with poor air quality. I connected to the fact that I have asthma. I grew up in a house with a gas stove and popcorn ceilings, and this is something that I carry with me for the rest of my life. And then ending with opportunity, but it doesn't have to, we don't have to continue to replicate these harms. And so the good news is that we can make a difference, especially when we work together. And then I direct people to sign up and join our mailing list so that they can be involved. So it ends with that call to action. And just to do a vibe check, how do people feel about crafting an elevator pitch? Is this something that you've thought a lot about, or something that is going to be completely new in terms of doing this for tabling? You can just like raise your hand or just add into the chat. Isaac, give a thumbs up.
So, Alicia, your volume is pretty low. It's I couldn't.
Is this better?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I'll just recap. So for our elevator pitch, we want to have a compelling message followed by a call to action and focus on what draws us to the movement and try to engage with that empathy in other people so that they can understand why this issue is important. So for me, I talk about my asthma, which comes from growing up with gas stoves and popcorn ceilings, and then kind of ending with the fact that we can make a difference. And then I was wondering if people have a lot of experience, if they feel really comfortable with their elevator pitch, and just kind of getting an idea for how people feel about this.
Yeah, I could just weigh in and say that if you didn't know, an elevator pitch is supposed to be about 30 seconds long, something that you could literally deliver in a short elevator ride if you walked into an elevator with a stranger and had to get off at the next floor. So it should be something that is, carefully crafted, because to message your message and make an ask in 30 seconds, it takes practice. So yes, it is something that I've spent a lot of time working on personally. Would love to hear from others.
I'll chime in. I haven't written one, but I wrote this note to myself a while ago. I needed a elevator speech for vaccines, plastic, fossil fuel, and electric buildings, but I haven't done it yet. So just a short one, like you said, to maybe correct misinformation or a positive about it. Because what happens is, if you remember when the scare came where people thought they could never buy a gas stove again, that's all they said, that one line. So I think we need to, that's on my list. I'm going to move it up on the list.
I can say that in a tabling context, I have never been an elevator pitch kind of person, more trying to, depending on what materials or posters are there, to try and engage the person to ask a question more about what brings the person there or what they're interested in. And I'm reading right now this book, Let This Radicalize You. It's not in very good focus, but it's written by Kelly Hayes and Mariam Kaba, and it is an amazing, positive general manual for organizing. And that is a very strong theme in the book, that contrary to going out there with this is the message and this is really what we want you to do, to engage people more where they're at. And that's also been my experience in general in tabling, that I don't usually try to push people beyond where they want to go, because I want them to come back. I don't want them to walk away, feeling pushed. So that's the other side of it for me.
Yeah, I see your hand, Isaac, but I just wanted to do a direct response. I think that's really important what you said. And in terms of asking questions, that's definitely important as well. It's still good to have kind of an elevator pitch because sometimes people will ask you, well, what draws you to this movement? And that's definitely when you go into that 30-second kind of speech on why you were called to do this. And then Isaac.
I don't need to say a whole lot. I just think Carol is like, that's absolutely right. There's so much wisdom there. Yeah, because the thing is, like, the way that I think about movement building is building something that's really, truly, deeply sustainable, that actually feeds us rather than drains us, that feels good, that, where we're surrounded by people who we like and whose company we enjoy. That's what a real movement looks like. And we don't get there by twisting the screws on people. So, yeah, well said.
Amy.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's kind of a different use of the elevator pitch if you're tabling. It's not something that gives just the gist, so and then you go your separate ways, but something you hope will draw people in for more of a conversation about it.
That's right. Sarah.
I think sometimes I don't think enough about it ahead of time, first of all, the pitch. And so I sort of refine it as I go, like as I'm talking to people. But I think sometimes I struggle with like how much information to give, how much of an introduction to my group should I give? Because if I want to pull them in, but not overwhelm them with too much information. But also like, they come up and they want to know what is this about? So I think this type of practice will be helpful.
Yeah, I resonate with that. Cap and invest, not a great time to go into what that means at a tabling event. Amber?
Yeah, just kind of seconding what Carol said about like maybe starting with a question to try to get them engaged and get them talking to you. Like, are you worried about climate change? Are your energy bills too high? And then if they can start talking, just listening to them and connecting their grievances to the larger system, saying, if they're worried about climate change, oh, well, did you know that buildings are actually the largest source of emissions? And we have all the technology we need to get off of fossil fuels. And that's why I'm with Renewable Heat now, because we're fighting for, policies and funding that will create this affordable, renewable heating and cooling system. And also, I think, emphasizing to them how they can help and why they're really needed to help, like explaining that we need pressure on every single representative in the state from constituents. And, it's as much or as little time commitment as they have capacity for. We do everything from really quick and easy action items like calls to your reps, and just explaining that we also have like power hours to walk them through what the campaign is and the different tactics that they can get involved with, I think is important to explain at the table too, so that they feel like there's going to be a team supporting them.
I think that's exactly right. And so in that scenario, like when you start with questions, your elevator pitch kind of comes afterwards and kind of drawing people in. And then it's also an opportunity if you are talking to someone on the street or actually in an elevator and you want to try to recruit them, you can kind of go into that speech. Amy, did you have another question or is that from before?
Oh, sorry. No, I think I just didn't lower my hand after that.
So we're going to go into our breakout room. So we're going to be about 3 to 4 people. And so this is an opportunity to kind of talk about your elevator pitch. And then when we come back, we're going to see how that felt and then do some fun activities to kind of embody that pitch so that it feels a lot more natural when we give it. So
do you have instructions for the breakout room? Are you going to put those in the chat or something? I'm going to send us into breakout rooms now.
Okay, yeah, I'll put them in the chat.
Okay, great.
Is the chat preserved from the in the breakout rooms?
I think
in some Zooms it isn't, and you don't see it till you get back to the
there's also a way to send a message to the breakout room, so let's try it.
Yeah.
So, did you want to say quickly what the instructions are then, Elisha?
Yeah, so we're going to be coming up with the 30-second elevator pitch. And then you're going to be sharing it with your partners in the room and kind of giving each other feedback on how that sounds. And And then when we come back, if anyone wants to share it to the broader group, and then we're going to go into a second breakout room and do some activities to try to help us embody that. And we'll have more instructions then. And so now we're going to do a short activity. We are still missing some people.
I'm trying to figure out if I can close the breakout rooms. For some reason, it's doing a 30-second countdown. You know what? We could just start sharing back. Although I don't want other people to miss that either. Thank you, Elisha, for broadcasting to everybody. Come on, people, come back.
I don't think we could see the chat in the breakout room.
No, we definitely
no.
But
Okay.
we could broadcast a message to the breakout room. So hopefully people could see that. Okay, here they all are.
Welcome back. So I hope that went well and that there was enough time. Do we have any brave volunteers that want to give their pitch to the room? Maybe like 1 or 2 people.
I'm volunteering Carol from my group.
With my permission, she volunteered.
Can I volunteer Anshul without his permission?
Okay, I'll do mine. It's really hard to know what to do when the dangers of climate crisis are so high. It helps me a lot to focus on a specific small piece and work with the support of other people. Right now, we're trying to influence the legislature to pass blank.
I like that a lot. Yay. Do we have another volunteer?
We have Anshul?
I thought we had Anshul.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, we didn't, in our group, we let only Amber do the pitch because the other 2 of us were newbies and we just wanted to learn from her.
I feel
Sounds like
would-
you're
would-
volunteered, Amber.
Okay, I'll do mine.
But before I go off, can I request Carol to sort of put that in the chat, what she spoke? Because it was very good and we'd like to capture that.
Yeah, and also that there's a link appeared in the chat just before we came back out of the breakout rooms, and it's not in the meeting chat. So whoever post that, put it in the general chat.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was meant to just be to my team, the flyer link.
Oh, it
because
didn't.
people were asking for also a flyer that you could use to have the online sign up link to join our listserv and a quick and easy email tool that people can use with their reps. I think, Lisa's main ask is for
Amber,
people to
can we-
the postcard though.
Sorry, can we just stay? We only have a few minutes left. So can we just keep rolling with the agenda here? Sorry to cut you off. So can we just hear a couple more pitches? Because we don't want to keep people past noon and we have a couple more things to do.
Amber, did you want to do your pitch?
Sure. My very quick pitch is just, hi, we're with the Renewable Heat Now campaign, and we are organizing for policies that will help fight climate change and save money and create good jobs. Are you interested in learning more about ways that you could help us in this campaign to get clean and affordable heating and cooling in New York State? And then if they come up to you, you can explain more about, it's as much or as little commitment as you have time for. We have a team of people that will be working to support you through virtual monthly meetings to teach you about the policies that we're fighting for and how you can make a difference with quick and easy action items like emailing and calling your own reps. And also, if you have more capacity, you can join us at rallies and things like that. And that's usually all I have time for.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds really great. I would just encourage to think about if someone were to directly respond to you and say, well, why are you doing this? And what your response might be. So I appreciate our two volunteers. We're going to go out into one more breakout room, and this time we're going to have, we're going to get a little silly. So I hope that you'll bear with us, but we're going to use some theater of the oppressed tactics to like embody our elevator pitches. And so you're going to just be in breakout rooms with just one other person. And so we did this activity recently where we think of different styles that we can, and use to actually repeat our pitches. And so the other person can say a theme that they want you to give your pitch in. So you'll keep the content the same, but you can say like Western. And so you'll go into if you were like a cowboy in a Western and what your pitch would sound like. What would it sound like if you were in a horror movie? And this is just to help you really learn what the content of your pitch is so that in the end, when you're giving it in your normal speak, it really is something that you embody and it just comes off really natural. Hi, I'm Alicia. I have asthma. I've had asthma my whole life. I learned that struggling to breathe is like one of the worst feelings. And so that's why I'm involved in the climate justice movement. These fires are going to keep happening. And so instead of just sitting back, I really want to be involved in making this happen. And so as a Western, I'd be like, howdy partner, my name's Alicia and I have asthma and this is why I'm part of the climate justice movement. And so we're going to get silly. Horror movie might be like, oh, no, asthma. So I'm going to send you out into these two breakout rooms and then I'll pop around to see how it's going.
That was actually really fun.
Yeah, it was actually not that bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you guys stuck with me there. The silly technique can be, I think, a little intimidating, especially for those who maybe don't have a theater background. For introverts, yes, but it really does help in learning your material and to really make it your own, so that when you go into an actual conversation, it feels more like a conversation and less like I'm here to sign you up for my local multi-level marketing like climate scheme. Welcome back. So thank you all. I hope that you were able to have some laughter and have a little fun with it. I was just saying that even though it may have felt a little silly, I appreciate you for sticking with me there, and that it really does help in being able to embody what you're talking about so that when you're having these conversations, it's just really natural. It's not like you're signing someone up for your multi-level marketing like climate scheme. We're just people, we all have these issues that are going to get worse with climate change. And so we really want to reach into that empathy and for people to understand that we're just looking for them to be a part of this movement. And it's really just little actions when we do them together can add up to big change. So I'll turn it back over to Lisa.
Thanks, Alicia. And sorry, we're going a little bit past time. I thought this was a great exercise, and learning is an iterative thing. We're always all learning, so it's we practicing and growing together is the only way we can learn. My one piece of feedback for everybody's pitches is to make the ask to sign the postcard earlier. Really put that up front. Don't tell everybody everything about the campaign first. It's tempting to do that, but really often people are willing to sign something and then some of them will want to have a longer conversation. And you don't want to miss the opportunity to get people to do this postcard. It's a pretty easy ask. So speaking of postcards, we have postcards available. I will mail them to you and I will give you instructions for how to collect the data. If you're collecting data for your organization, say Mothers Out Front, you'll take the sign up, the name, the email, and give it to put it in your own database, but then we also want it for the campaign database. So we're, really collecting for both your home organization and the campaign. And we'll make sure that you all know how to do that so that we can keep track of all of that. This is a link to the postcard that we're currently using. You can even print it out yourself. If you don't want me to mail it to you, or if you don't have time, you can just send it to a local printer. There may be other iterations. This is the iteration we have ready now. And we do have, lastly, a handout, and I see everyone's hands. So for people who can stay after time, I'll go to your questions, but I want to make sure everyone has these resources. Here's a quick handout that Elisha pulled together of some, a checklist for when you're tabling, to things to think through. You want to make sure that you have all the materials you need, that you have all the information, that you remember to take a picture of you and your table for use, and maybe some interested people for social media or future webinars that you will be then training people on how to table. So that's it for us. I will hopefully have an online version of this postcard also to share for people who want to sign people up digitally. But that's it. So thanks for coming. If you have to leave for your noon meeting or lunch appointment, please don't feel that you have to stay. If you want to stay, I can stay on for a little longer and answer questions. And just please applause to Isaac and Elisha for their great training today. Thank you guys so much. Okay, I think I saw hands. Andra.
So one thing I was thinking about, because I'm kind of an introvert, a friendly introvert, but speak up. When you've got your perfect elevator pitch, make sure that the person that you are delivering it to can hear you clearly and at an appropriate volume, because sometimes we're tabling in loud spaces. Sometimes there's, distractions around. So that would be my parting piece of wisdom.
I love that parting wisdom. Anshul, do you have parting wisdom for us too?
No. I had a question which Rachel actually asked in the breakout session. Is that are we going to get information on tabling opportunities from our RHN? And I think people would appreciate that. Amber posted a list of all the events, but many people are just not aware of those events. And if we specifically tell them about them or invite them, they might want to table.
Yes, that's a great question. Often organizations are approached and then they are going out to their volunteers, like who can table. But Rachel, do you affiliate with a particular organization or set of organizations?
Not really.
Okay, well, we would be happy to help you to find tabling opportunities where you live. And where is that?
In Troy.
In Troy. Oh, excellent. Well, I am confident that Elisha and Isaac will connect you with any local tabling opportunities.
Okay, sounds good.
Capital area. Okay, I'm going to Sarah next.
Just a quick question about the status of the campaign. So is the goal to push it for next session for the next session or the budget? There's no attempt at an earlier. There's no special session being called or anything, right?
Fantastic question. As far as we know, we have no opportunity before next year. If that changes, we will definitely let you know. But we are really pivoting now to target the governor very hard, which is why we have postcards directed to the governor. The ask is to put it in her budget. There's going to be an org sign-on letter going out and sometime next week, in the next week or two, and we'll hope all your organizations will sign. We're going to try to get some meetings with the governor earlier this year because her office at best this year was neutral and at worst was oppositional. So we really need to turn up the heat on Governor Hochul. But thank you. That's a great question. Okay. Isaac.
Yeah, so first, thank you everyone for sticking through a Zoom training. This medium is not particularly easy, but I really appreciate everyone being engaged. Really, thanks to Lisa and Elisha also, wonderful facilitators. I was just going to say the one thing that kind of always comes up for me, and I think it did, and I don't want to call anyone out, but there is such a tendency to try to go deep in the weeds, and it's beyond any one of us. And it's all about just keeping everything broad and basic as possible. You start talking facts and people's eyes glaze over. It's like, and when I talk about and what New York Heat specifically, I will say it's a bill that's going to help get fossil fuels out of our homes and buildings and support low-income New Yorkers, help low-income New Yorkers pay their utility bill. I would not go any deeper in the weeds than that, or into the political thing too, because it's an easy wormhole. Well, what about the governor? Well, we're working on her, and keep it as simple and basic as that, because yeah, it can get really easy to get drawn into a conversation about, different types of refrigerants, and that is not a conversation that is constructive or helpful to the movement, in my opinion.
Thanks for that, Isaac. Yeah, I mean, occasionally a conversation will go deeper, but when you're tabling, you're trying to connect with a lot of people, and the rare person is going to want that much information in a tabling setting. And if they do, they'll let you know. And if they do, it's often not that helpful. It's often them wanting to tell you everything, as Sarah explained before. Why you should really be working on this other thing. Diana?
Yeah, thanks, Isaac, for that, because I'm definitely guilty of getting too much in the weeds, and have actually seen people's eyes do that, glazing over. So yeah, I have to keep reminding myself, just keep it simple. But my question was just a quick one about the timing of the materials being sent out. I did fill out the form. Do you know when those will be sent out?
Yeah, for people who filled out the form, I just got postcards yesterday, so I will be mailing them out either today or tomorrow, depending on what happens the rest of today. Trying to get them out today. So if you fill that out right now and request postcards to be sent to you, I will pop them into the mail.
Lisa, is there also I think it had been mentioned before that there was going to be a brochure or something about?
Yes, I do have what's called rack cards. They're very nice. Lindsay made them. They aren't completely up to date, but they are useful. I did print some of those out. So if you want those, I did print out some of the old ones because I thought they were good enough, and they lead to the website. And hopefully I can make some new ones, but I wanted to get some right away, so I can send those out, which are, those sort of like, they're like long and skinny, and they explain what the campaign is and have our website on them. Great question. Yeah, you can get those as well. And Amber seems to have also developed some materials, which I'll take a look at when I get a chance. Okay, Isaac, go ahead.
Yes, what I'd like to do, if we have like 3 minutes, I like ending workshops with like something that worked in the last hour for you and something we could improve upon. I don't have to jump immediately. You all are 10 minutes after the hour, but if my humble take is if you all are open, I would love to see us do just a super quick round, something that worked, something that we could improve for next time. What do you think, Lisa? You open to that?
Sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. So whatever you guys want to do is fine with me. Yeah.
Okay, I can facilitate it real quick. So just real quick around the room, something that worked really well in the last hour, something that, maybe we could improve for next time. And if you don't have anything, that's fine also. So maybe I'll start in order of my screen. Sarah, you want to go real quick?
Sure. I thought sharing everyone's experiences was very helpful and getting those different pieces of insight. I have to say, any sort of improv activity throws me off. So I appreciate the chance to discuss it more one-on-one, but I'll just leave it at that. But thank you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Carol?
I could also say that we didn't actually do the improv activity, but I think our conversation was, a good, it happened to be the two of us had been in the previous group together as well. So it was a continuation and it was useful. I think it was really, I think it was great to hear the different styles. And this is just my own perspective, but I think that helping people to find their own style is really a crucial element.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Carol. You're a special one. You're a gem.
I'm just old, that's all.
Diana?
I think I can pretty much echo what Sarah said, that that I really, that beginning part, I don't know if it was just the makeup of our group, but hearing different people's experiences was valuable. And yeah, maybe it's just me, but the improv throws me off as well. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, Anshul.
Oh, were you calling on people? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Anshul.
Yes, same. I think,
yeah,
I think it was great, and I really enjoyed listening to people's most memorable experiences. So yeah, and nothing to add.
Awesome. Thanks, Amber.
It was great. Yeah, I think maybe it would have been good to have time to talk about like key districts that we want to be building a base in for like what's strategic for the campaign right now. Like I was talking with Amy a little bit about, she lives near Carl Hastie's district, so that could be a good place to table since he's a key target. Also, Assembly Member Zabrowski's district would be great to get more of his constituents to pressure him on the bill. He's in Rockland, so just thinking through geographically where we want to be would be good.
Great. Andra?
So same as everyone else, the sharing part was just magic. And I really like this group coming together and this sort of discussion that we had. I think it would be maybe a good thing to have a discussion about like a list of places to table or something like that to continue this.
Awesome. Thank you. Rachel?
Really just the same thing as everybody else. I really enjoyed hearing about the memorable experiences too.
Awesome. Yeah. Lisa, you go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I was paired with Delia for the improv, and it was really fun because we laughed, and I think that it helped shake. It's always scary to do, right? But it helped, like I could feel my heart space just open up from that activity. So I'm so glad I had an opportunity to try that out, and I appreciate Amber for bringing the list of places that we tabled last year. I think that's super useful, and I didn't have that handy, so thank you so much for that, Amber.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and just to kind of reflect back.
Sorry, I would have liked to have heard more people's. I wish we'd had more time to hear more people's and talk about them more. That's my delta.
Yeah, and I would just say really grateful for everyone's additional couple minutes. I do want to respect everyone's time just to reflect back what I heard. Hearing people's experiences, there was a ton of value in. The improv exercise is something I think that could have worked better if we had more time, and Zoom is just horrible. To keep people engaged and interested over Zoom for an hour and a quarter, I'm going to count this as a win for the week today. So really appreciate y'all. Yeah. Any last words? Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you. Wonderful to see everyone.